Next up, we have Lisa Mark Smith. She's a mother and a vaccine injury survivor from Cincinnati.
Hi, I'm Lisa, and I have a flu shot injury. So I kind of am the face of flu shot injury. I give a lot of talks. I testified at the State House on the bill. Actually, this week, this window is 11 years ago when I had my injury. So my dad was having knee replacement surgery, and I thought, ooh, I don't want to get sick. I want to be able to help my mom. So I ran out and got a flu shot. Bad choice, because my dad was in the hospital 2 days, and I was in the hospital 24 days. So when people tell you, you can't get sick from a flu shot, I always stand up and say, that is not true, because I had multiple hospital stays, several ambulance trips. So I was home by myself the one day, and I couldn't get up off the couch. And that's when I was like, uh-oh, something's very wrong. I had to wait for my son, who was babysitting, to come home and call an ambulance because I couldn't move anymore. So they took me to the first hospital, who, as soon as I got to the hospital, they said, oh, did you have a flu shot? And finally I said, yeah, why does everybody keep asking me if I had a flu shot? Oh, this is a known side effect. Well, that wasn't known to me. So they moved me into intensive care and told me to bring my kids and husband to the hospital and get my affairs in order because I was going to die. My arms and legs were paralyzed. I could no longer cough or sneeze, and they said once it hit my heart and my lungs, I would die. So to bring my kids to the hospital and say, guys, I love you very much, and I would never, ever leave you on purpose, but they're telling me I'm going to die. But I didn't die. And then after 4 days, they can check you for Guillain-Barré, which is what they were assuming I had. When I did not have the protein level in my spinal column that they decided I was crazy and I was faking. So they told me to just go home because I was faking. And I said, I really can't go home because I can only move my head. There's not a lot you can do when you can only move your head. And so my husband and brother got an ambulance to transfer me to another hospital. And about 2 hours later, Dr. Lakia came in and he's like, we don't know why this is happening, but we know what is happening and we can stop it. And I was very relieved. I'm like, so I'm not crazy? He said, yes. He said, if they'd done any blood tests on you, they would have known you weren't crazy. There's a protein level in your blood when your muscles break down. When I got to the hospital, it was 60. They never checked it again. When I got to Christ Hospital, it was over 900. It should always be below 100. By the time they got it to stop, it was 1,600. They said, you don't see that in people who run marathons. And obviously, I wasn't running a marathon because I could only move my head. So I stayed at the hospital for 23 days. I always say you can have, 2 heart transplants and not stay 23 days. And then I had to go to a rehab unit and learn to walk again because by that time I could move my arms, but I didn't have any control over my legs. So 11 years later, I'm still, if you ever see me, if I'm walking through here, you will notice I swing my leg. If you also see me stop all of a sudden and turn my foot to the side, it's because my tendons come out of the bone and I have to manually put them back in. So, when people say, oh, I can't afford to be sick, I like to say, can you afford all the things? My hospital bills right now stand at $570,000. So I did go through vaccine court. I'm kind of jumping around. I'm sorry about that. Things pop into my head. When I got home, I had lots of time because I still couldn't walk very well, and researched. I was a little shocked to find out there was a vaccine court. So I hired a lawyer right away, and we filed, and they conceded before trial, which is really, really rare. So legally, I can tell you I got a settlement. I can't tell you what it is. If you Google my name with HHS, you can read my settlement, which is a little crazy that I can tell you that part, but I can't tell you that So my neurologist testified, if you're walking down the street and you're perfectly healthy and a bus hits you and kills you, everybody says, the bus hitting you is what killed you. No one would say, hey, maybe Lisa had massive internal injuries, is why she fell in front of the bus. She was already really dead before the bus hit her. Because she's like, that's insane. Nobody would say that. That was her testimony for vaccine court. So if I'm walking around, I'm perfectly healthy, I'd walk 4 miles a day at that point, at a resting heart rate of 55. She's like, if, she gets a flu shot, it's the only thing that changed, she ends up paralyzed. Flu shot inserts as paralysis. Why would we think it's anything else? So I did get compensated through vaccine court. Like I said, but it would not have covered my medical bills. The rules for the vaccine court is I did not have to pay taxes and I did not have to reimburse my insurance company. So my insurance company probably isn't very happy. We had very good insurance, luckily, at the time. But I keep a running total of the bills, and they are at $570,000. So when people tell me, oh, I can't afford this, I'm like, well, do you want to see my bill? Because quite long. The only other thing I'll tell you is one of the stories in the book Vaccine Epidemic, because the authors of the book got tired of people saying there's no known reaction to the flu shot, and they're like, Lisa got compensated. So you really can't say there's no known reaction when vaccine court has conceded her case. And I am amazed how often when I go to the doctor and they say, are you allergic to anything? I say, sulfa, and I cannot have a flu shot. Everybody accepts I'm allergic to sulfa. Nobody argues with me, nobody says it. But when I say I had a flu shot injury, they do want to argue. Why? I mean, it's my doctors say for the record it's that, but people do want to argue with me, and I don't really understand why we can't accept. I can eat peanuts. Some people can't. I mean, we all accept that. Why, when someone says I have a vaccine injury, do people act like that's impossible? There's reactions to everything. So thank you for listening, and right now I walk pretty well. Last year, when I testified at the State House, I was back in the boot. The boot's in my car just in case. So thank you.